is jointly organizing this webinar. So for the great success of this event, so our principals has agreed to preside this session, and then the keynote address is given by one of my best friend of the from the ISAC. So Dr. Balasubramaniam M. So he is also there, and then all the technically, so the assistant, the present program is coming in the YouTube live, and this for this great technical assistance, our very vibrant IT coordinator. So Professor Jagdish is with us. So the regards to Jagdish ji and the whole IQAC team of Government Arts College and all my GAC fraternity. I request Professor Sundarwali madam to welcome the guests. Mic to Professor Sundarwali.
Good afternoon. ಎಲ್ಲರಿಗೂ ವಿಶ್ವ ಪರಿಸರ ದಿನ 2021 ಶುಭಾಶಯಗಳು. This World Environment Day 2021 is being hosted by China, and the theme is air pollution. I quote, "Breathing can't be stopped, but we can change and purify the quality of the air we breathe. So let's nurture the nature so that we can have a better future." With these words, I deem it an honor to welcome all the participants to the post-lunch special webinar. At the outset, I extend a very warm welcome to our resource person, Dr. M. Balasubramanian, Assistant Professor, Center for Ecological Economics and Natural Resources, ISEC, Bengaluru, who I'm sure is going to keep us all wide awake through his lecture. Welcome, sir, on behalf of Department of Economics, Eco Club, and IQAC of Government Arts College. A very warm welcome, sir. Our principal, Dr. D. Rajashekaran, has been very supportive in all our activities. I extend a very hearty welcome to you, sir, on behalf of the Department of Economics, Eco Club, and IQAC of our college. Welcome, sir. We are very happy to join hands with Eco Club of our college in this endeavor. I welcome the convener, Srimati Mubin Taj, and her entire team to this special lecture. A very warm welcome, ma'am, on behalf of the Department of Economics, Eco Club, and IQAC of our college. Dr. Nagesh G, our very vibrant and active IQAC coordinator, has been instrumental in organizing today's webinar. But for him, this webinar would not have been possible. A very warm welcome to you, Dr. Nagesh, on behalf of the Department of Economics, Eco Club, and IQAC of our college. A very warm welcome to Dr. Jagdish sir also for helping us with technicalities. I welcome all the esteemed teaching and non-teaching faculty of our college. A very warm welcome to all the students and all the participants for this webinar. I end my welcome speech by telling that every day is Environment Day. So let's save our day by saving our environment. Thank you. Over to Dr. Nagesh.
Thank you, ma'am. I welcome you also for this event. Firstly, let us take a minute or two to introduce our the keynote speaker of the day, Dr. Bala. So I call him as a Dr. Bala. So Dr. Bala is a faculty of ISAC in the Department of Center for Ecological Economics and Natural Resources. His area of research is green accounting and natural resource and solid waste management, climate change, sustainable development, urban ecology. Dr. Bala is PhD from Madurai Kamaraj University in Environmental Economics. Dr. Bala, to his account, have 2 monographs and 20 journal publications, 39 chapters in various international reputed blind review, very standard books, and he has accounting to already 5 completed research projects funded by various institutes of the world in the area of ecological economics and sustainable development. Dr. Bala is currently handling 3 research projects, and he is a professional membership with 10 professional memberships he have to his account, and Dr. Bala is there to give it's today's webinar on the topic green accounting with empirics of Karnataka. I am very happy to see him to present this lecture. So hand over to Dr. Bala.
Thank you, Dr. Nagesh. It is visible, my slide?
Yeah. It's visible. You go ahead.
Thank you. First, I would like to thank Professor Rajeshekaran, Principal of Government Arts College in Bengaluru, and Professor Sundravalli Madam for introducing me for this very occasion day, because I see rightly mentioned each and every day as Environmental Day. So, how we are association with nature, it is very important. Before 1970s, there was much consideration about the environmental protection or conservation. After 1972, the Rio conference, everybody they talking about, especially the environmentalist, researcher, and all the known peoples. So we have to protect the nature. So the various ways. So I thank for the very excellent day today. I also thank to our Government Arts College for inviting me, especially the Dr. Nagesh, for delivering the special lecture, especially on the green accounting with empirics of Karnataka. When he called at the time, actually I was a little confused because of I have received a number of invitation delivering the same area, green accounting. So we have completed something in morning. So rushly I took my lunch. So again I started my another show here. So here the thing, I trained as an environmental economist last 10 years. So I have little experience on ecosystem services and valuation. So the recent development in the literature, especially in the economic literature, the environmental economics discipline, sub-discipline. So they call green accounting. So what is green accounting? How the green accounting they are considered at the local level policy implications, especially in Karnataka. We have completed a recent project funded by Indian Council of Social Science Research. So I want to share my experience and the result, which I found some interesting result. So the same result I already shared with the government of Karnataka. So now they are going to consider about the value of natural resources, especially in the Western Ghats. So here, the first things I want to start with the ecosystem services, what we are receiving from the nature. So we know very well as an economist, always we are talking about the benefits. What
Dr. Bala, just 1 minute. Can you go to a presentation mode? Presentation mode, that will be better.
Okay, yeah. So now it is visible, presentation mode. Visible?
No, just go for the presentation mode.
Yeah, I put the presentation mode only.
No, it is in the slides form.
Okay, I already put in the presentation mode.
Sir, you have to present it again.
Okay.
Share it again.
Share it again. I have to stop and again share it, I think. It is visible now?
No, sir. After the presentation, you have to share the screen. After going into the presentation mode.
Okay, but I don't know the things.
Okay, it is okay.
It's okay now?
Okay.
Yes, it's okay.
Jagdish, tell him to that slide presentation mode key is there, no short form that you have to let him click it. That one, I think so.
No, I clicked actually.
Yeah, that one.
It's coming now.
No, sir.
I don't know.
No, this one you close it. Actually, side the into mark is there, no slide part.
Okay.
That side you close it. That one.
Sir, in the screen presentation, there are different tabs are there. You have,
Okay.
to,
Yeah.
you have to select the proper tabs.
But I don't know. I am very much.
Jagdish left
That's
side
okay, sir.
ಇದಲ್ವಾ
Continue.
ಲೆಫ್ಟ್ ಸೈಡ್ ಟಾಪ್ ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಇಂಟು ಮಾರ್ಕ್ಸ್ ಕ್ಲೋಸ್ ಮಾಡೋದು ಬರುತ್ತೆ ಅನ್ಸುತ್ತೆ.
No, sir. ಹಂಗಾಗಲ್ಲ. Sir, it is okay, sir. You can
Dr. Bala, you
minimize the
go
side
ahead. No
tab.
worries.
Okay,
It's
go ahead,
visible.
go ahead.
That is
Sir,
better actually.
ಕಾಣ್ತಿದೆ
Because,
ಪರವಾಗಿಲ್ಲ ಮಾಡಿ.
You just
Okay.
minimize the sidebar and it
Okay.
will show, and double click on the home.
Okay.
Home.
Now it is okay.
It's okay.
It's okay, la? Because we are wasting time. The things are writing. So here, as always, economists they talk about the benefits what we are receiving from the nature. They talk about the benefits. For example, in economic sector, we have a number of sectors. Agriculture sector, service sector, industrial sector. So all the sector they giving the benefits to the communities in terms of money. So in nature, what nature benefits? So the recent literature they talk about the benefits of nature. So nature contribution to the people. So here I would like to share my experience on with Western Ghats. So as per the United Nations Environmental Program, they called a Millennium Ecosystem Assessment. One excellent report published by the United Nations Environmental Program on 2005. So this report they classified. So what we are receiving from the nature. So they classified we are receiving 22 services from the nature. So this is actually ecologists. They always talk about the ecological functions, ecological complexity, ecology-related concept. But economists, they argue what benefits we are receiving from the nature. Because whenever they're designing the policy and program, they have to account the benefits in terms of money. So first we should understand what is the ecosystem services. So based on the Millennium Ecosystem Assessment, they classified it 4 major ecosystem services. So one is the provisioning services, regulating services, cultural services. So what is provisioning services? As we know very well, for example, per hectare forest or any wetland areas or any water bodies, they are providing number of benefits to the community, number of benefits to the local people. For example, tribal peoples, they are living in forest or near the forest. So they are depending on directly, indirectly for their natural resources, their income, employment, food also. So here they call non-timber forest product. So they are collecting non-timber forest product and selling in the market. But if you come to the market, the non-timber forest product, they consider as a imperfect market price or market failure. Economists, as we know very well, many of the provisioning ecosystem services, they are imperfect market. For example, per kg kani, how much we are buying from the market? Nearly 600, 700, the pure honey. If we go there in the rural areas, I mean, the pure honey price is 200 to 300 k, 200 to 300 in terms of rupees. So there is a imperfect market price for the many non-timber forest product. Then second important services, water regulations. I mean, water provisioning ecosystem services. So water is the major role for irrigation and agriculture productivity. So how much we are receiving water from the nature, but how much we are creating the value for the water, that is a very big question. Then another services, major forest product as a wood, major wood production we are considered in the economic picture, whether it's the Karnataka economic accounting or Indian national income accounting. So how much timber production we did, so how much cube in terms of forest production, major forest production, whether it's a teak wood, timber wood, another type of wood. So the current economic model, the current statistician, they consider only the major forest product. They call as a benefits in terms of rupees, in terms of money. So they calculated based on the production based approach. So the first services, somewhere, some ecosystem services, they are considered in the economic picture. The second services, regulating ecosystem services is one of the vital role to the human being in the context of creating well-being, physical and mentally. For example, why people they are walking around in the Lal Bagh early morning and evening? Why people are getting good physical and mental health? So, no, those who are depending on the nature, because many people, if as a human being, everybody they want to spend with the nature. So, in the context of regulating ecosystem services, so based on Millennium Ecosystem Assessment, they classified 10 regulating ecosystem services they identified. So in the Western Ghats, we have received 10 major regulating ecosystem services. For example, here I mentioned only the 3 type of regulating ecosystem services because we estimated only the economic value of 3 regulating ecosystem services, but not in the pollination. But the pollination is very important ecosystem services in the context of honey protection. If you come to the second thing, people they talk about carbon sequestration. So, what is the carbon role in the society? Why Bangalore is cooling compared than Chennai? Because of in Bangalore we have the huge amount of trees in terms of hectare. So, urban tree cover is very important. So, the urban green cover making more physical and mental well-being to the peoples. So, that services they are not considered in the economic picture. So how they consider only the provisioning services because of the material benefits. So the ecosystem services, people they are getting benefits from the nature. So what is the benefits? So the benefit we have to account as economic value. That benefit, how to create the benefit for the ecosystem services? That is very important question and methods. Here the regulating services, most of the regulating services they are not traded in the market because of if market means we have to buy and sell some of the goods and services. So the regulating ecosystem services we are not able to trade in the market. For example, some countries now they buying and selling in the carbon price. So that is another part. Carbon price is different from the regulating services. So is the final another services they call cultural ecosystem services. What is the cultural ecosystem services? For example, people they are creating recreation. They are spending tourism. So why people they are recreation to the many forest areas, many water bodies in our life? Because no, we need a enjoyable life. That is called for the subjective well-being. Because whenever people they are visiting to the recreation areas, whether it's a Banarkata National Park or Bandipur National Park or Lal Bagh or any other Jog Falls, so they are creating economic value to the nature. So the economists they call cultural ecosystem services. So the cultural ecosystem services we estimated as economic value through the travel cost method. As you know very well, consumer surplus based on the Marshallian demand theory we will discuss in the later. So these are the some simple framework. What actually the type of ecosystem services we are receiving from the nature. So this is a first some kind of introduction. The second thing, as I said in the first slide, why value of ecosystem service and biodiversity? So missing market of the many provisioning services, regulating services, and cultural services. Otherwise, imperfect market or market failure. So another important thing is the current exploitation of the natural resources due to economic growth and population growth and urbanization and industrialization. We are exploiting natural resources. So demand is very more compared than supply. Supply is very less. So now the uncertainty about the future demand, but we know that this is over demand will come, but the supply it is very big questionable, especially the natural resources. You see there how the Millennium Ecosystem Assessment they classified the ecosystem services. They call the natural capital. You know very well what type of capital they are involving in the estimation of economic picture. Whenever the statistician or economist, they estimating the GDP or they estimating the SDP. So they are involving only the production, consumption, export, import, etc., etc. Our question is, where is the natural resource? part. So some part, as I mentioned earlier, for example, mining and gold or iron ore or major forest product, they are considered as economic value because of they are giving more money compared than other services. So that's why the reason whenever the local policymaker designing the policy, they are totally misunderstand about the value of ecosystem services. It means they have to understand very properly what is the value of services we are receiving from the nature. So that's why reason each and every budget we are getting very less amount of money for the forest protection or forest conservations because there is lack of understanding in the local policy maker in the context of valuation of the natural resources. That's why the reason the global ecological and environmental economists they want to create economic value to the nature. But this is not the only one solution for conservation of the natural resources. As economist, economic role, so economic tool, how conservation of the natural resources through the economic price, that is our concern. If once you involving in the valuation of natural resources, the natural resource accounting. So we are going to talk about the main thing of natural resource accounting only, based on the new environmental economic accounting framework already given by United Nations Statistical Division. So each and every year they have given updated framework. For example, forest resource accounting, water resource accounting, energy resources accounting, waste resource accounting. So they have the separate framework for each indicator, whether the renewable resources or non-renewable resources. So we can calculate what is the value we are receiving from the nature. That is the full cost benefit analysis for making better policy framework as the local or national government. That is called the decision making. The another thing means in India, we have facing number of issues due to the disaster, flood, drought. So what is the cost estimations? For example, people they talk about in economist externalities, whether it's a positive externality or negative externality. So our argument is we have to account the negative externality. What is the loss and damages due to the drought? What are the loss and damages due to the flood, due to the disaster? So once you estimated the cost of damage, then the policymaker they can understand easily for the compensation to the affected communities, compensation to the affected people. So our argument is we have to estimate or we have to account whether the positive externality or negative externality. That is the very important reasons why we need evaluation of ecosystem services and biodiversity. I think you understand very clearly about why we need evaluation of ecosystem services. So there is market failure for most of the ecosystem services, most of the environmental goods and services. So we have here stock and capital. So what are the stock is there in the forest? What are the flows are there? Somewhat people they are, considered in the stock of value of resources, not in the flow of value of resources in terms of services. So these are the some reasons why value of ecosystem services and biodiversity. So here, how valuing the ecosystem services? As economic background, there are three important approaches are there. Whenever you estimate for provisioning ecosystem services, we have to use the direct market price method. Because of the direct market price method, for example, in vegetable market, people they are selling and buying based on the everyday demand and supply. In the same market price method, we can apply the market for non-timber forest product. So most of the African countries and another American countries, they have the proper market price method for the non-timber forest product. If you come to the Indian perspective, there is lack of market price. There is imperfect market for the non-timber forest product. That's why the reason our argument is we have to give the proper price estimation. If once they know the value of the honey, once they know the value of amla, once they know the value of other non-timber forest product, other for example medicinal plants, etc., we know very well the forest and the nature how contributing benefits to the people. So how we are giving price to the nature? So we are getting benefits. What is our benefits to the nature? It is very less. So that's why reason our argument there is imbalanced demand and supply. So once you estimated the economic value to the nature, then it is useful for the sustainable utilization, sustainable access, sustainable use of the natural resources. That is our argument. So why we need the valuation? That is very important concept. So based on this valuation method, we can estimate or we can account for natural resources. So first, direct market price method. Second is the production based method. Second is the cost based method. The third is the production based method. So each and every ecosystem services, there is separate method is there. For example, a hectare of the forest produce 22 type of ecosystem services based on the Millennium Ecosystem Assessment report and IPAS report. So the 22 ecosystem services, they are different type of methods for calculating ecosystem services in the context of economic value. The second approach, reveal preference approach. For example, here the travel cost method we applied for estimating recreation value of natural resources. Those who are visiting to the tourism part, how much they are spending, whether with the family, or whether with the friends, or whether with the institution for college tourism or institutional tourism, they should spend some money for reaching the places. So how much they are spending, whether it's the petrol cost or diesel cost or transportation cost or staying cost. So all the thing we are calculating based on the individual travel cost method. That is called for the economic value of recreation ecosystem services. How much they would like to willing to pay for seeing the park. So how much they pay for entry fees. So many people we know that why we are paying entry fees to enter the park. What are the reasons? So some reasons are there for management of the park or utilization of the park. But at the same time, we are paying the entry fees for the future generations. How? Because if you are paying the money at present, the same money they are utilizing for the conservation of the park management, the better park management for the future generation. If, for example, 1970s, people they estimate they seen Lal Bagh. At the same people after 20 years they are seeing the Lal Bagh. What are the difference? So because 1970s, some generation, our previous generation, they used the park. They pay the amount of money for the future generation. So the present generation also they are paying for the future generation. So present generation, those who are paying entry fee, the future generation they can see the park. So that is the economic theory is there. That is called for the consumer surplus. Then the Marshallian demand theory, we applied for estimation of a trip generating function in the travel cost method. So another very famous method, hedonic pricing approach. So third important approach, static preference approaches. For example, many researchers they are using contingent evaluation method for consideration of the natural resources. For example, here most of the municipalities they are failure management of better solid waste management, disposal or segregation, all the things. This is the third approach is the hypothetical market. If you want to conserve the nature, how much you would like to willing to pay? 10 rupees, 20 rupees, 30 rupees for all households for conservation of, for avoiding smell from solid waste generations. So they would like to pay for some amount of money. So these are the some methods how valuing the ecosystem services. So whenever some discussion is coming, I can elaborate some more concept and explanation about each methods. So here, the value of ecosystem services and biodiversity, you see there in the slide how the relationship between people, nature, and economy. So, what is the relationship people, nature, economy? How the value of ecosystem services concept emerged? You see there, first 1990s, the Stanford University ecologist Gretchen Daily recently she got Taylor environmental prizes equal to the Nobel Prize for in the environment. So she actually contributed very enormous work in the ecosystems. So he wrote a very excellent book, Nature Service. You see the ecosystem service, nature service, societal dependence on nature system. So people, their dependency to the nature. So the relations you see there, socio and ecological systems. So in the social and ecological system, she is basically from the ecologist. So actually, she discussed about the nature services. what type of services are there, which I mentioned earlier, provisioning services, regulating services, cultural services. So she wrote a very excellent book. That book is a very basic foundation for the evaluation of ecosystem services, 90s. After 90s, in 2000, in German group of environmental economists, they written very excellent another report. They call the economics of ecosystem and biodiversity. They call the T. Exactly, they given very excellent another framework and methodology how valuing the nature, valuation of natural resources through the all methods which I discussed with you in the previous slide. Production approach method, environmental contingent valuation method, hedonic price method, travel cost method. So all methods they did very excellent framework. So this is the Bible of economic value of ecosystem services, especially those who are working in the evaluation part. So the second important breakthrough. So how valuing the nature. The third important breakthrough in the evaluation of ecosystem services, they call IPPES, the Intergovernmental Science Policy Platform on Biodiversity and Ecosystem Services. From Germany, they contributed very enormous work. They developed a very excellent report on nature's contribution to the people. So here we talk about the economy and well-being. So here nature and well-being. You see there people, nature and well-being in the context of economy. How nature creating the well-being to the society. So there is another important recent update in the subject and value of ecosystem services. They call the 2021 February, the Cambridge University professor Partha Dasgupta is a very famous environmental economist. He wrote excellent review on the economics of biodiversity, the Dasgupta review. What is his argument? Is he there from 90s to 2021? How the evaluation of ecosystem services concept is emerging? How no? Is he the 90s to 2021? So his basic argument, we have to account for negative externalities, and we need a transformative change in terms of policy and program, forest policy or forest changes. So these are some kind of valuation concept, how the valuation concept is emerging. Before actually I want to start the green accounting concept, I want to discuss with you regarding the basic concept, because if I start directly to the green accounting, people they are a little confused about the concept things. So here it's very clear picture. You see there, I mentioned earlier, there is man-made capital is there, the existing national income accounting. We are using man-made capital, for example, fixed capital stock, factories, power plant, transportation, some kind of environmental infrastructure, buildings. So then second, the human capital is very important role, learning and skill, health, well-being and happiness. Third part is social capital and natural capital. Third and fourth part is totally missing. You see that what are the inputs from the left side? If you go to the right side, demand, domestic and export, public sector, private sector, household sector, investment sector. In my question here, man-made capital, human capital, somewhere is the natural capital, they are using as an input for production economy. Come to the output, whether it's a demand, domestic sector or household sector or private sector or public sector, we are using from this kind of capital, input to the output. So the question here, what is the role of natural capital in terms of accounting of economic picture, the GDP, whether it's a gross domestic product or state domestic product? Where is the role of natural capital? So our argument is we should actually value the natural capital, that the valuation cost, the valuation rupees, we should integrate into the national income accounting. That is called for the green accounting. Here you see there. So any forest or any wetland or any other protected areas, we can actually apply the total economic valuation approach. Use value, non-use value, direct use value, indirect use value, option value, existence value. So this economic framework we should apply in the forest. So then we should create the economic value of the forest. The total, this is a full cost benefit analysis. Now the local policymakers, they are not actually applying this kind of framework. So they want to get some benefit through the major forest product. That is the only one, because we are receiving benefit from the major forest product, wood. So here the argument, So already we discussed about the things. The total market value of all final goods and services we are using in the gross national product. So here the current economic picture, I mean the national income accounting, Richard Stone and the Keynesian framework we are using, macroeconomic model for especially consumption, saving, investment and government expenditure. We are using in the estimating of gross domestic product in terms of, I mean, the gross domestic product or gross national product. But the environmental economist, the group of environmental economists or ecological economists, we are highly criticized about the Keynesian macroeconomic model because in the perspective of natural resource is missing. Because you see the next slide, I'm going to give some historical perspective. So the Keynesian economic model, Keynesian the economic theory, how they are missing the economic, I mean, how they are missing in the context of national capital role in the estimating of gross domestic product. So that is our criticism based on, I'm not criticizing actually, the criticism by major global environmental economists. So if you read the literature, then we can understand what is the basic limitations in the existing national income accounting. So here I would like to give one simple example. So, for example, in the existing GDP calculations, there is number of limitations there. For example, volunteer work is not accounted properly. Household production is not included properly. Happiness is not included properly. So, we know only the few indicators. For example, of the Human Development Index, 3 indicators only we are using. As the same kind of, because of whether the GDP or HDI, they are the considered as the economic performance. So how the country's economic performance is going, whether it's a sustainable path or not, whether it's a growing growth, economic growth or economic development based on the GDP. So the government, they want to show their GDP rate only, whether it's a 1 digit or double digit. In our question here, for example, from the forest economy, fail to account for environmental degradation and natural depletions. You see that that's the reason our argument. We have to account the negative externality. We have to account the positive externality. In somewhat, in somewhere, people they are accounting the positive externality, not accounting in the negative externality. For example, here a forest tree they are cut down. So we have market value of timber. So there is positive externality. Agriculture production, it will increase somewhere in the positive externality. Industrial output or industrial income will increase, there is a positive externality. At the same time, so what will happen for the depletion of the soil fertility? So pollution, the pollutes in the water supplies are reducing the water supplies, are reducing the soil erosions. So the current economic model, they are considered only the market value of timber. There is no market value for soil fertility. There is no market value for pollution. There is no market value for soil regulation. There is no market value for the carbon sequestration. There is no market value for the pollinations. So our argument, if once they estimate the GDP, they have to account positive with negative externality. So here, green accounting concept, they started 1990s. Actually, here they call system of environmental economic account, established in 1993, and there are various update methodology framework reports available in the website. They call environmental accounting. So, green accounting or environmental accounting or natural resource accounting, it is not alternative for the GDP. Please you understand. Many people actually they are thinking green GDP or environmental accounting or natural resource accounting alternative GDP. That is totally wrong. That is the adjusted GDP. So green accounting, how they define to incorporate natural resources and the environmental quality here. What is the cost of pollution? What is the cost of damages? What are the cost of disaster? What is the cost of flood? So we have to account the cost of negative externality. So that is very important. So green accounting or green GDP or natural resource accounting, they this is an alternative, not alternative. This is an adjusted GDP. So green accounting provide a framework, organization information, status, use, and the value of natural resources and environmental asset, and including the fisheries, forest account, among others, well expenditure because of the United Nation Statistical Division. They are the important role for designing or updating methodology for estimating gross domestic product. The same organization they designed this methodology. It is easily and free available in the Google. People you can download and read what is the Green National Income Accounting, what is the environmental accounting, so what is the SIA, System of Environmental Economics Accounting. So here, as we know very well, many people actually they are stuck and unaware about the green accounting, the concept and methodology. So the current net domestic product, we use the net domestic product is equal gross domestic product minus depreciation of the fixed capital. So what is the green net domestic product or green accounting or natural resource accounting? So green accounting means just you adjusted. So NDP as a green NDP, green net domestic product is equal gross domestic product minus depreciation of fixed capital minus depreciation of the natural capital. The depreciation of the natural capital, whether it's the positive externality and negative externality, the cost of positive externality or cost of negative externality. That is the very simple framework. So what is the conceptual background of the green accounting here? So I actually go through the literature because last nearly 10 years I'm working in the field of environmental valuation. So in my experience, my reading experience, I started from the classical economics because of we are the researcher and we are involving much teaching. So the students, they should understand what are the pre-classical economics they actually thinking about the land. So land was the central economic theory as the primary sources of wealth, the the pre-classical economics. Then if you come to the classical economics, the classical economics is very famous. Adam Smith, Wealth of Nation, and the David Ricardo, Robert Thomas Malthus. They are the foundations of the economic discipline because of they given all the concepts, the foundations. How they discussed about the natural resources. So in our argument, the classical economics, they actually concern about the wealth of nation. So what is the wealth of nation here? The question is wealth. What is the wealth? Whether it's the producer, human capital, or human made capital, or produced capital. So here the question is, they discussed about the land. So the Ricardo theory, the land theory, they talk about the land, the accumulation of the land. But at that time, they were not discussed about the forest type of services. What they discussed recently in after 90s, whether it's daily nature services or millennium ecosystem assessment, they talk about the different type of services, prison services, regulatory services, cultural services, or the IPAS, they talk about the nature contribution to the people, or Partha Dasgupta's talk about the economic value of ecosystems, the review. So the classical economists, they much concern about the wealth of nation. They want accumulation of the wealth. But what type of wealth, especially in the natural resources, they are not talking about the services. What are the forest services, carbon services, oil services, these services? So now we know very well the carbon sequestration. So for example, Amazon forest, this is a global carbon sink. So they are the major role. So what is the economic value of the global carbon things? So what we are giving to the Amazon forest? We are always producing some amount of major forest products only. We are getting benefit from the major forest product. But at the same time, the Amazon forest or the Western Ghats, they are the major role in the absorption of the carbon. So what is the value of the carbon? So that is very important. That is the valuation. So these kind of concepts, these kind of theories, they are not discussed in the classical economics. Whether it's a Marx, actually they discussed about the human and nature interaction. So that is what is the relation between social and ecological system. The theory of metabolism, he discussed about the things, the relationship between nature and the human. The Malthus, he concerned about the population growth and the food production. So we know the things. So they have some kind of ideas, but not fully about the value of natural capital, the value of nature services. Then another school thought, as we know very well, the neoclassical economics. They are the basic foundation of the economic discipline. Another founder people of economic discipline. Especially when they talk about the market So they created the market, opportunity cost, or all the things, the consumer surplus, theory of demand, theory of production, etc., etc. Here, the neoclassical economists, they are the major role in the environmental economics. Because of environmental economics, or green accounting, or environmental valuation, we are receiving concept from the neoclassical economics. How creating the economic value to the nature, how putting price to the nature. So environment and human welfare, whether they consider the human welfare or not. For example, A.C. Bihu, The Economics of Welfare, they written very excellent book. The concept of externality, the Bigu cost or the Bigu tax is very important role in the present century, because of most of the developed country they talk about the Bigu tax, how control the carbon or how control the climate change through the Bigu tax. So they are the very vital role in the environmental valuation. They are also foundation in the green accounting concept. They are the foundation of the economic valuations. So another school thought of institutional economics, for example, how institutionalize of the natural resources, how economics of natural resources, how behaving on the environment. For example, Robert Whipland, Mitchell, and Commons, they are the major contribution for creating the economic value to the nature. Finally, the present contemporary of ecological economics, they call Herman Daly and Kenneth Boulding and Robert Costanza. They are the basic foundation for the sustainability concept. So, for example, here I mentioned earlier human capital, human-made capital, social capital, natural capital. So, except the natural capital, the three capital, whether they substitute to the natural capital, how human capital substitute to the natural capital. So that is a basic controversy between the ecological and environmental economics. So the concept, how they come from the various school thoughts. So all the schools thought, they have the one common things. From the school thoughts, we should understand. So we need pricing to the natural resources. For example, 16th century, 17th century, there was enormous, huge resources in terms of natural resources. There was less population growth. There was less amount of populations. You see, you compare 17th century and 25th century. There was a huge population growth. There is less natural resources. So each and every discipline, they have their own conservation methodology. For example, sociologists, they want to conserve the nature through the people participation, through the social movement, through the social organization. In India, we are very famous in Apiko and Chipiko movement. But economists, they want to put the price to the nature. That is called for the conservation strategy. Many people actually, they are not much happy in the discipline wise. Why Bala, he want to create economic value to the nature? Not. That is the one tool. So some amount of economy, some if you put some economy to the nature, some part we can consider. There is a example is there. I will share with you. So what are the theoretical background? Here the green accounting, they started, for example, David Riputo, the World Research Institute, he did the first survey. He did the first, primary survey in Indonesia, and Jeffrey Vincent in Malaysia. So they analyzed with the experiment depreciation of capital, especially depreciation of natural capital and degradation of the forest resources, how impact on the welfare of the society, so how impact on the local policy. So they proved through the theories. So how the second part, income, for example, we are receiving income from the various sectors, agriculture sector, industrial sector, and service sector. You see there, natural capital, how producing the income. So the Robert Solow, the Nobel laureate, he also argued. So we need the sustainable income through the natural resources. That is also creating good welfare. So how the sustainable income they are involving? So that is the things I mentioned in the previous slide. Human, nature, economy. What are the relation between human, nature, economy? It's called nature contribution to the people. So another important theory now we the current economists, they are talking about the welfare and the intergenerational well-being through the sustainability. Then the final one, measurement of sustainable development. Actually, I want to tell you, the green GDP is the one of the indicator of measurement of sustainable development. So there are two type of indicators there. One is the weak sustainability indicator, another is the strong sustainability indicator. So the green accounting is come under the weak sustainable indicator because of depreciation of natural capital, cost of pollution, everything come under the depreciation, depletion. That's why in literature they call the weak sustainability. So the green accounting is one of the measurement indicator of sustainable development, whether the country's economy going on sustainable path or not, including the natural capital, or human made capital. So these are the some theoretical framework. What are the recent update, the recent development in the theory? Professor Kenneth Arrow, Stanford University, Nobel Laureate, with Partha Dasgupta, they defined a very excellent way how economic growth or development should be evaluated in terms of intergenerational well-being. Because we are talking about the sustainable development, sustainability. How sustainable development, sustainability they are going to reach. So we should evaluate through some indicator. So the green accounting is one of the indicator for measuring the sustainable development. So here the national income and social well-being of the economy, Paul Samuelson Nobel Laureate, he also discussed about the intergenerational well-being through the nature and comprehensive economy. So wealth were not to decline over the same period. In our argument, the well-being or welfare of the country, not increasing GDP or decreasing GDP. In our argument, in terms of consumption of capital, in terms of consumption of wealth, should not decline over the period. That is the sustainability. That is the sustainable development. So green accounting is helping to the measuring sustainable development in the context of natural capital. So these are the concepts we are learning from the green accounting. So now, what type of, how many types of there in the green accounting based on the system of environmental economic accounts? There are many accounts are there. For example, forest resource accounting, then ecosystem accounting, water accounting, energy accounting, solid waste accounting, pollution accounting. So these type of account, now they are methodological level already they developed from the United Nations Statistical Division. Already I mentioned there is a free copy of document available in the Google. You can download it. The system of environmental economic accounting. For example, I used ecosystem accounting in the Western Ghats. I want to show you my result coming slides. How I used the ecosystem account in the Western Ghats through my studies. So here first, for example, the current economic model, current GDP calculations, whether it's SDP or GDP in Karnataka or SDP, GDP or NDP in the India level. So they want to include only the production-based approach, benefits-based approach. Here, for example, if you come to the forestry sector or environmental sector, how the forest resources they consider in the economic estimation. For example, the previous, the existing national income accounting, they are totally ignore the value of or ignore the service or ignore the actual benefit from the natural resources. How the new systems, how the new framework, they are giving the excellent indicators, excellent framework for the natural resource asset account, natural resource flow account, natural resource stock account. Here I used one example here, opening stock of the forest, for example, 2020 to 21. So addition to the stock, what is the growth of stock in terms of forest? What is the discovery of the new stock in terms of mining? What is the upward appraisal? What is the reclassification? Whether the forestry of Ministry of Forest and Climate Change or Forest Survey of India, they given any reclassification for the forest type? Because we have the 16 type of forest in India, some 10 type of forest in somewhere, 9 type of forest in somewhere. So they are reclassification each and every year through the Forest Survey of India. Then what are the total addition to the stock in terms of quantity, in terms of cubic meter, the first side, physical account. So reduction of the stock, extraction, normal loss of stock, catastrophic loss, downward appraisal, reclassification, total reduction in the stock in terms of quantity. Then revaluation of the stock. Then what is the closing stock of environmental assets? Or what is the closing stock of environmental flow? Or what is the closing stock of natural capital? So this is the only framework. The same kind of framework they given for the forest, mineral resources, energy resources, or water resources, or fishing accounting. So this is called for the system of environmental economic accounting. So the green accounting or natural resource accounting. I think you understand now. So how the natural resource accounting? We used one paper from our publication with one another publication from the IIT Mumbai Professor Haripalli Kundimida. How we constructed, for example, opening stock and the closing stock. What is the opening stock and the closing stock? So based on the data, based on the 1 year. So in terms of million. So this is a one type of work. If you Google it, you will get some kind of ideas. Forest resource accounting, forest resource accounting in Karnataka, forest resource accounting in India. So these are the framework we included. So what actually I want to discuss with you in the presentation, how I used the ecosystem accounting or green accounting. So ecosystem accounting is part of the green accounting. So the ecosystem accounting, this is a new concept developed by United Nations Statistical Division, the CM. So how actually they given, for example, Pilligiri Rangasamy Wildlife Sanctuary in Chamarajanagar district. It is a famous wildlife sanctuary. There is a tourism board, that is recreation services, that is the holy place are there. So that place nearly 540 square kilometer in terms of forest areas and protected areas. So how the 540 55 the square kilometer they consider as a natural capital. That is very important here. So before knowing the value of, before knowing the concept of green accounting and ecosystem accounting, we know only the, okay, anyway, some forest services we are receiving from the Pilgiri Rangasamy temple, some honey is coming for selling in the market, major forest product is coming selling in the market. But apart from, as a researcher, what we understand from the literature, so the particular area, they are providing a huge amount of services. As I said earlier, 22 ecosystem services we are receiving from the Pilgiri Rangasamy Wildlife Sanctuaries. But how many services we are captured as economic value? Only very few. The only within the few, how many they are accounting in the state Karnataka state domestic product? Only very few, only one or two. So what about the other services? So that services are missing in the economic picture. So we have to include that value in the economic picture. That's called, we are doing the research at the very beginning level. It's called for the ecosystem accounting. You see there, the picture is there. What is the current ecosystem condition about the type of ecosystem services and the supply of ecosystem services? The supply means here, as economist, as I said earlier, what is the benefits in terms of economic units, whether it's a household sector or commercial sector or private sector or any other corporate sector? How the natural capital, the ecosystem services, they converted as a benefits, they converted input to the outputs. So, in terms of quantity, in the first stage, the physical account, if you come to the monetary account, we have to put the monetary account based on that's the reason I'm telling him. We have to study the value of natural resources. So, before go to the green accounting and before go to the ecosystem accounting, we should study the valuation of ecosystem services. What I did recently. So, we did value of ecosystem services, 5 protected areas, and Nandi Hills also. So we estimated 390 billion rupees only 1 year. The value we are receiving from the 5 protected areas. But the within the 391 billion, how much amount they are integrated into the economic accounting? That is the very big questionable. So we given the report to the state government. They will consider. We hope because of I given a presentation in front of PCCF in the Malleswaram office. They told after the pandemic again they will call for the restructure of the forest areas and forest program and policy based on the studies. So the physical account then converted as a monetary account. So the ecosystem services supply and use values. So ecosystem term in terms of asset in the context of stock and flow. by the ecosystem type, provisioning regulating services, cultural regulating services, or supporting regulating services. So finally, this part is missing. You see that this part is totally missing here. So we are in this stage, in this stage in the research area, but institution, they are totally failing capture of all the ecosystem accounting. So the institution, we are trying to estimate the economic value, or monetary value of the ecosystem services, but the institution, we are recommending to the local policymakers integrated account, combined presentation, extend the supply and use tables, sequence of sector account and balance sheet. Whenever they design, or whenever they estimate the state economic, actually state domestic product. So what is the result actually we estimated from, here actually, there is number of methods. I said earlier, marketplace method, avoided cost method, replacement cost method, travel cost method. So the result is not coming simply as a number. We used different methods based on the data. We run the result. We got this kind of a value. This is a number. We because took nearly 1.5 years for putting this value. So here, based on the ecosystem accounting, the green accounting, ecosystem accounting for Pilgiri Rangasamy Wildlife Sanctuary. As actually, I also told to the forestry department in Malleswaram PCCFM, if you estimate economic value of the Western Ghats, because of Western Ghats, it's very important, especially for the Karnataka. So the Western Ghats started from the Gujarat to Goa, 6 states in terms of geographical area. But what are the speciality in Karnataka? Karnataka, we have accumulated 60% total Western Ghats in our state. That is more benefit. So we are the more responsibility. So we have the huge amount. I said that if you give a time for 1 year, estimating economic value of Western Ghats, definitely the value more than the Karnataka GDP. That is my actually predictions. It will happen soon because this is a very initial part. So what we did in the Pilgiri Rangasamy temple. So provisioning, regulating cultural services, provisioning services, non-timber forest product, regulating services, only the carbon sequestration plus soil erosion with soil erosion preventions, the value we estimated. Finally, cultural ecosystem services through the recreation method, as through the travel cost method, we estimated trip generation function and consumer surplus. So the three provisioning services, regulating services, cultural services, how contributing to the local economy? That is a question. So here you see there, the first part is the ecosystem extent, second part ecosystem condition by the ecosystem type. So what are the existing ecosystem type we estimate? Non-timber forest product, water, soil revolution, and recreation services. So then these services, the local household they are using, the local corporate they are using, the private sector they are using, commercial sector they are using. But the limitation of time and money, we estimated only the few households. The data we gather from the Pilgiri Rangasamy temple. Then come to the monetary account. What are the ecosystem monetary account? Provisioning services is estimated based on the marketplace method, 3.6 million totally missing in the GDP calculation in Chamarajanagar. Regulating services, nearly 3.8 million missing in the Chamarajanagar district domestic product. Cultural services, 16.5 million they are missing. So totally, you see there only 1 year. With the very few data, we estimated 23.9 million economic value of ecosystem services missing in the calculation. If you integrate these things, then nature value will increase. So the local policymaker, they can understand what is the value we are receiving from the nature. So how much they are giving production for the Pilgiri Rangasamy temple Wildlife Sanctuary? Very peanut amount of money we are receiving from our government. Very few money we are receiving from the national government because of there is lack of understanding between economics and environment. Those who are designing the policy in the local level. So that is our argument. You see there how much, this is only 1 year. If you see the last 7 year, 8 year, this is a trillion amount of money will come from the services. So this is not the assumption. This is not the hypothetical. This is a reality. This is a real research. How nature contribution. So the nature role to the human well-being. So where is the GDP now? You see there. What is the GDP role here? So GDP role, we are getting employment, economic, this, that. Okay, anyway, as an environmental economist, if you estimate these services, our well-being will increase. So this is the first actually Piliranga temple. The second ecosystem accounting we apply the Nagarjuna National Park. The same thing, nearly 92,206.93 million the per year the contributed from the Nagarjuna National Park. That things also missing in the economic calculation the local government. Then you see that Bannerghatta National Park. What is the entry fees of the Bannerghatta National Park? There was the safari here. So there is no any proper budget allocation. What is the actual economy we are receiving from the Bannerghatta National Park? Still is very questionable. Why they are putting more prices? Why they are going entry fees is nearly 500 for safaris 600 or 700. So there is number of institutional also involvement. So whenever they design the green accounting, whenever they estimate the green accounting, we have the methodology. The methodology, the institution they have to apply in the calculation that these kind of money, I mean these kind of valuations, these kind of rupees, the local policymakers they should understand what is the value. Then the 500 to 300. Why Lal Bagh is 10 rupees to 25 rupees? So that is very important things. So why Sambark is getting very less entry fees, Sambark is more entry fees. So we have to give more priority to the nature. Because of nature and human relation is very important in coming decade also, because of we are stuck in the pandemic time. So the nature services providing good to human well-being, as I said earlier. So the Bannerghatta National Park, through the travel cost method and avoided cost method and marketplace method, we estimated 37,339.82 million in 1 year only. Then we go to the Bandipur National Park. Nearly, you see there is more value from the Bandipur National Park from the 3-4 services. So this is they call for the ecosystem accounting. How the ecosystems accounts in the economic calculations. So this framework, actually these methods are missing. So that is very, very important here. So then Chettigali Wildlife Sanctuary we did actually based on the premise survey in Shimoga district. So nearly 56,690.65 million the worth. So how the local, I mean, whether it's Lal Bagh, I did some studies in Lal Bagh. Actually, Dr. Nagesh requested, but I can discuss with you because due to the time, I'm not able to discuss much about the things. Lal Bagh actually we estimated economic value of Lal Bagh, especially the tourism part through the travel cost method. So 4.4 million. I mean, generating only 1 week. 4.4 million 1 week. You see there, the value of Lal Bagh is very huge in terms of provisioning, regulating cultural services. So provisioning services, they are cultivating some kind of vegetables and fruits inside, but many people they are don't aware about that things. So regulating services in terms of forest, I mean, there is no any thick forest, but huge amount of trees are there. What is the value of the trees? So what is the value? Because of our Bangalore emitting more in terms of CO2. So where is the tree? Whether it's a Kapan bark and Lal bark, they are the huge absorptions in terms of carbon stock. So what is the value of the carbon stock? Then what is the value of the cultural services? So these are the things we estimated the Lal Bagh. Based on our study, actually they raised the fees for 10 rupees to 25 rupees. Many people actually they are unhappy about me. But you see there, the present the fees hike, 10 or 15 rupees, it's not a matter for us now. So that estimation, it will be helpful to the future generations. As I said, mentioned earlier, that when you come to the total economic value, for use value, non-use value, option value, existence value. So we are paying fees now for the future generation. The same generation we are enjoying with the Lal Bagh, with the Bannerghatta National Park, or Bandipur National Park, or Nagarjuna National Park, or Chettigal Wildlife Sanctuary, or Jog Falls, whatever we are paying the fees, that the fees helping to the future communities, future generations, they can also see there. So we are investing for the future generation. That is, we are reinvesting to the nature. Whatever we are getting revenue from the human capital through our employment, we are reinvesting to the in environmental economics. It's very famous. They call for Hartling rule in the resource economics. So in the Hartling rule, we apply in the India, but it is failure. So now, so these are the ecosystem accounting under the green accounting. So what actually some studies already they did in natural resource accounting in Karnataka. Professor P. R. Panjamughi in CMDR, they also did some studies in 2008, funded by Ministry of Statistics and Program Implementation. Actually, what they found, the non-timber forest product contributed 1.45% of state domestic product in our state 2002-2003. So 1.4% is missing. So they mentioned that 1.4% is missing based on 2002-2003. Again, you see there, I also forgot, value of grazing in about 0.5% of SDP is missing based on the 2008 study. Then value of recreation ecosystem services from the one protected areas, dynamic wildlife sanctuaries, they accounted 0.02% GSTP. You see there, we have nearly 20 protected areas, wildlife sanctuaries, national park, all the things. You see there, why protected areas are very important in terms of ecosystem services, in terms of regulating services, provisioning services, or things, because they are protected. The areas are protected for conservation purpose for the future and present generation also. We have to design properly the entry fees. That is also going on about the revisit of entry fees in Karnataka. We are also involving. Then the study value of carbon sequestration, they estimated 14.6% GSTP they are missing. I said earlier, carbon sequestration is a very important contribution we are receiving from the Western Ghats. It is a very important actually role from the Western Ghats. That's why the reason Western Ghats now they consider as a global biological diversity. You see there among the 36 global biological diversity, we have two important biological diversity. One is the Western Ghats, second is the Eastern Himalayas. So the Western Ghats and Eastern Himalayas, they have a major role for the millions of peoples in terms of employment, economic opportunity, livelihood. At the same time, how the local economists, they consider as a value of natural capital from the both biological diversity. Because of, you see there, from Gujarat to Goa, 6 states, how many protected areas there. Cotgill report and Kasturirangan report, they're highly controversial, very well. Cotgill report, they want to reduce the ecological sensitive zone areas. I mean, they want to increase and reduce the ecological sensitive zone areas between the two reports. That is also very questionable. So the valuation part is more helping to the conservation purpose. The second is the pollution and pollution accounting. You see there, some of developed countries, US actually, they did some kind of pollution accounting. What is emission from the agriculture? What is emission from the mining and the energy sectors? What is emission from these another economic activities? That is called for the pollution accounting. It is separate framework is there in this year. Then monetary and hybrid accounting. So is there.
Mr. Lokesh, can you mute?
Hello.
Mr. Lokesh, go ahead, Balla.
Yeah, yes. So monetary and hybrid account is there. You see there, for example, solid waste generation is one of the critical issue in Karnataka. I mean, especially in Bangalore. You see there, in my argument, how much we are generating every day. So we know only the nearly 3,000 metric ton to 4,000 metric ton. So based on the population, you see there, per capita waste generation 0.0 to 0.6 kg in developing countries like India. So according to the government of India, now we are crossing nearly 1 kg per capita waste generation per day. So here, based on our population, now we are going to cross the million population in Bangalore. You see there, population growth, population and waste generation. This is totally, actually, the data they are not revealing properly. That is our concern. So once you construct the solid waste accounting, how much they are generating waste, in my prediction, more than 10,000, nearly 12 to 13,000 metric ton they are generating every day. So we know only the 3,000 ton to 4,000 ton. So green accounting, environmental accounting, and natural resources accounting, and pollution accounting, we can do for solid waste also. So here, 3,000 to 4,000 ton only we know. So the budget, the BBMP, they are giving budget only 3,000 to 4,000 metric ton. Uncollected waste, the remaining waste, they are creating the health and economic issue in the Bangalore. So before 3 or 4 months and before 1 year, the Bangalore news was in the New York Times about the solid waste management. So now actually we don't know what is happening there about the landfill, all the things. So in our argument, we have to account for the solid waste generation also based on all the things. That is also come under the environmental accounting. So how environmental or green domestic product they did in the Indonesia. This already I mentioned. lesson from the Indonesia. When they calculated the green GDP, they are actually understand some kind of revenue we are receiving from the nature. So we have to reinvest to the nature. That is called the our whole country's welfare, the positive welfare. They are getting the less revenue compared than other sector, but at the same time, that is the sustainable aspects. So measuring whenever the growth of GDP illustrate changes, social welfare may not produce in the accurate result. Now, that is our argument. They compare the GDP. So from environmental GDP 4%, but the 4% is a very significant contribution to the societal well-being. That's the reason you see there within the GDP, they are including the EDP, the environmental domestic product. Once they included environmental domestic product, but environmental domestic product is low compared than existing GDP. That is the good. So monetization of the natural capital needs to be there. Approach carefully. That is very important. What is the Indian things? I mean, we talk about the Karnataka and some kind of other countries. India actually, the all over India, you see there. 2013 Ministry of Statistics and Program Implementation. They made a very excellent report. Chaired by Professor Partha Dasgupta. They call Green National Accounts in India. It is also free access in the Google. You can Google it also. So we are in the very beginning stage for developing the methodology. Still, there is lack of methodology. There is lack of data. That's why reason government of India still they are hesitate implementing the green accounting and green GDP. But now we are pushing the recent development by the Ministry of Statistics and Program Implementation. There is every year publication, environmental statistics in 2018, 2019, 2020 also is there. They started from 2012. So some amount of data is there, but not very much. So for example, forest accounting, we can do that. It's not in the mining account, not in the pollution account. We need some separate account. That's why reason depreciation of natural capital, as I said earlier. So NDP is equal to DM minus DN. DM depreciation of fixed capital minus depreciation of natural capital. If depreciation of natural capital, whether it's renewable resources or non-renewable resources, we don't have the data. So our argument, we given suggestion to the government, state government and central government, we need the proper data for estimating green national income accounting, estimating green state income accounting. So now they requested to us, we can develop the forest resource accounting, but what about the water accounting? What about the mining accounting? What about the energy accounting? That is called for the green accounting. So combine all the things. That is a value of natural capital. Totally, we can incorporate to the value to the our state domestic income. So what is our our institution contribution here based on my study? So provisioning services we estimated 0.032 billion in 2019-2020. The carbon sequestration value from the 5 protected areas 377.46 billion. Then soil erosion prevention 11.07 billion, recreation value 2.44 billion. So total economic value from the 5 protected areas from the only the 4 services 391.00736 billion. This amount somewhere maybe 1 or 2 billion they are included. Remaining amount they are not included in the policy whenever they take the decision. So the value of natural resources concept, the things are missing in the local decision making. So in my last slide here, what are the policy things important? Once you estimate the economic value of natural resources or green accounting concept, there is clear understanding between link between economic and environment with the detail of natural capital. Then regular update regarding on the protection of forest and ecosystem services. That my argument is the data we need protection of forest ecosystem services, designing conservation strategy, then suitable combined regional forest protection with the sustainable forest and other things. So another thing, sir, why actually I want to give, I'm going to stop within 1 or 2 minutes. So why China is more high developing economy compared than all the things? Because we are the same time of planning commission. I mean, they set up the planning and architecture of the economic policies. So they are the top level of economy in terms of, you see there, the 2000, they implemented eco-civilization, the concept. When I visited China 2 to 3 times, we visited many places. So 2000, there was a desert in the area. Now 2010, the area is a world famous tourism spot because of they put more investment to the nature. So how they understand about the value of nature and ecosystem services. So we have to identify the region where high ecosystem services are where the huge value the cluster to gather potential information to the support of decision making. Thank you for the opportunity. If I would like to receive the questions, comments, and
Yes.
suggestion. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Dr. Bala, for giving us. You really made the World Environment Day so reaching to us.
Thank
So
you.
the value of environment, the accounting to concept to practical estimation of green accounting, that to empirics of Karnataka has enlightened us. Really, we are grateful to you. And now we open a session. I request all the participants to put raise your hands. We'll take very few questions, maybe 3 or 4 questions.
Yes, you.
And we request if students want to ask, you brief your question, or you put the question in a chat box. I request RDA participants to raise your hands, unmute yourself, and then straight away you can ask a question.
Yes, Manabja, Sriram.
Shamala madam, please.
Yes, sir.
Shamala madam. Yeah.
Good afternoon to all. Sir, Professor, it is really enlightening and it has illuminated us. And really, it was a wonderful session and giving your empirical studies, presenting examples. I have a question, sir. So, whatever the income generated from green accounting, is it going to the environmental investment for protection of the environment? Number one.
Okay.
Number two is, in India, is there some steps taken for decarbonizing?
Yes. Yes. Here, actually, your question is very important because of I mentioned earlier many times why actually environmental sector, forestry sector, whenever they given the budget, whether the state government or central government, why forestry sector getting less amount actually in the context of sharing amount, whether maybe less than 1% or 2%. So total actually budget allocation, forestry sector we are getting very less. There are two reasons. As you asked a very excellent question, because of some theory also is there. In resource and environmental economics, they call Hartling rule. I mean, before 10 minutes I told about the Hartling rule. What actually Hartling rule they talked? How much revenue we are receiving from the nature, whether it's the forestry or mining or gold or iron ore, etc., whether renewable and non-renewable natural resources, that revenue they have to reinvest in the forest only, or the revenue they should reinvest in the gold. But whichever we are receiving the revenue from the gold sector, revenue from the gold sector, they should reinvest in the same sector. Then they are not invest. If they are investing in the human capital, that is also good, because of here we are not investing the revenue whichever we are receiving from the nature. We should reinvest to the nature. We are not reinvest to the nature. We are not also reinvest in the human capital also. We are investing in the corporate sector. We are investing in some other sectors. So that's why the reason the forestry sector always ignore from the budgetary. So revenue they should reinvest in the nature only. For example, in our argument recently we have some good publication in the science journal. You know that science is the topmost journal in the global level. What they argue in the editorial report, somewhere in the Brazil, nearly 20,000 tribal community they are living in the one forest areas. So the 20,000 families, they are the major role of production of the forest areas. But the local government, they are not much considered about the local the peoples. So they are considering the areas. They are giving benefits to they are giving water services to the city, because of the upstreams to the low stream is coming water from the river, upstream to the low stream is coming. But the local government, they should reinvest in the health sector, in the infrastructure sector, in the education sector. That's why reason our argument, whatever we are receiving money, it should reach the same areas. They are not doing properly. That's why reason our economic model, production-based approach. whatever we are receiving major forest product, even the major forest product receiving for 1 trillion, they are not investing 1 trillion. They are investing maybe 50 lakh or 1 crore or something. So that is very important. Because of that revenue, they are deviating some another sector. That's why reason in normal sector always neglecting. Again, the second is the decarbonizing. But here actually decarbonization, it is very important concept. Because of carbon contribution in Indian context, it is very less. I mean, the per capita emission is the 2 and the less than 2 in terms of per capita emission in our Indian context. So decarbonization is okay. Here you see there are geographical, Forest Survey of India or Ministry of Forest Environment reports. They are giving very excellent data set. You go there, auxiliary areas, what is happening about the decarbonizations? That is the theory to practical is totally imbalanced because they have to report the proper data. So in my argument about your four questions, the 2 questions, there is lack of institutional involvement. Whenever they have designing the policy, they have to give the proper institutional role for whether it's investment. That's the reason in my argument, some article is forthcoming. Investing in the biodiversity, investment in the biodiversity is very less. Or financing for the biodiversity is very less. So we have to improve. In my suggestion to the state government, I given a philanthropist. For example, here Asim Premji University is there. Then another Narayana Murthy.
Sudhamu.
Yeah, the philanthropist actually, they should give some kind of assistance to the nature, especially because I said 60% of the Western Ghats located in the Karnataka. So they are also located in the Karnataka. They are getting very good revenue, but they should actually they should contribute to the Western Ghats, right? So in my argument, some philanthropists, they should give money because during the pandemic we know very well the total economy, not only the individual economy, total economy is gone now. So how the government, they are now searching for alternative revenue. Where are they getting revenue? There is no revenue from the for the government. So where the revenue? That's the reason. Even in my prediction, poverty will increase, degradation of resources will increase. Then environmental things will change many things. So we need more policy. We should revisit many things. So your question is good, but my answer for the both question, the institution role is very important. They have to involve in terms of investment, in terms of designing the policies, things. So most of the policies now stuck. The environmental policy, we don't know about the environmental policy, all the things. Thank you, madam.
Thank you very much, sir.
Anybody else want to ask? Dr. Bala, there is I have a small query for you.
Yeah.
Everywhere we have a number. It's a very crazy number. 33%. 33% of forest need to be covered. Even finance commissions argue for. So at the national level also, we should have a 33% of forestry should be covered. And even in many policies we see government imposes to have 33% of forest covered area. Where this number 33% comes, and do you have any a logic behind this 33%, or I need an answer from you if you have any. Yeah.
No, you see there actually, no, the 33% means it is very interesting number. No, you see there the 1988 forest policy. So they designed first. Actually, they recommended each and every state they should have 33% of the forest cover for total geographical area. So 33% means some states, for example, northeastern states, they have more than 70%.
Yeah.
So, for example, in Karnataka, we have 19 to 21%. In Tamil Nadu, we have 90%, 18%. Somewhere is in Kerala, 24% here is there. So, if you see that averagely, so they actually estimated the whole countries, the total forest areas, the 33 lakh hectares somewhere, they come with some numbers for total to average. So here they recommended, so every state they should have some kind of contribution. So total to, for example, here in our forest, in Karnataka forest, 19.96, sometimes 21%. So in our goal also in sustainable development goal, they want to reach the 33% of forest, but above the forest cover area. So this is average. So total forest area in the India, so that is very huge. So the total come to the average. So they put one baseline. They put the one common number for 33% that we have to achieve each and every state. But it is not easy. It is not possible. 33% means total to average is come. Total.
Okay.
Yeah, but
Yeah. Thank you, Dr. Bala. There is a question in the chat box. I think you can read or let me read.
yeah, please let me
One
read.
of our student is asking,
Uh,
do you think the government is taking enough measures to conserve the wildlife habitat? So if not, what can it
Yeah, it is good
do
actually.
differently?
Yeah, very good. Actually, the same question actually I received from the PCCF of Karnataka when I was presented in February in the Malleswaram office. So you people, as a researcher, you want to estimate the economic value of natural resources. For example, people and nature. People are very important compared to nature because of people for nature, nature for people. Here, you see there everywhere people they want to enjoy. You want to estimate the value, the happiness, everything is the people. Where is the wildlife? So wildlife here, you see there. Why you are going to Panargada National Park? Why you want to see the lion and the tiger? You are creating economic value to the wildlife. If you are, because of in the machine, the wildlife we have to conserve properly through the, for example, economic point of view. If I pay 200 to 300 rupees in the safari, I pay for the wildlife only. I create economic value to the wildlife. So through the economic value, we are considering the wildlife. So we have to measure, we have to protect. You see there in comparison other state, Canada, we have the more tiger. We are claiming more the things because why? We have our conservation strategies. For example, Billy Rengasamy Wildlife Sanctuary, there are number of tigers is there. Nagarjuna National Park, there are number of tigers is there. So we are at the same time we are giving more priority to the wildlife also. So how the recreation services creating economic value to the wildlife. So the nature wildlife, that is also is one important thing. But at the same time, we are not able to make a separate thing for the wildlife. So we have to, if you see there, all wildlife come to the city, all the things, very well, from the Nagarjuna National Park, crossing to the Mysore, how many things are happening. Because there is a number of issues there. So we can invest something for the wildlife conservations through the recreation services, protected areas, all the things.
Thank you. Dr. Bala. I hope due to paucity of time, we stop the questions. So sorry, we are taking a much of our time, and we can take one more question. Anybody, any participants want to ask any one question? We take.
Hello. Hello, sir. I'm Dr. Shailaja from Kolar.
Yes, Shailaja, madam. Go ahead, please.
Yes, sir. That's what Shamla madam was asking about the decarbonization, right, sir?
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, and most of the industries, they are releasing carbon to the atmosphere. And we know, according to New Companies Act, they have to spend around 2% of their turnover on CSR activities. Why don't they make it compulsory? At least a few percentage of that would be invested in environment causes.
Madam, actually, the decarbonization concept, because, still we are not much clear in the Indian context. For example, now we are dominating the private sector. You see that everywhere, for example, leather product or electricity product or mining product, they are releasing huge amount of carbon. If you see there, the two aspects is there. One is the conservation perspective, another is the investment perspective. So how they are conserving through the investment? If the industry, they want to release more amount of CO2 emission or most amount of carbon. So based on our environmental regulations, the existing environmental policy, environmental regulation, it is not much clear because as you know very well, the existing environmental policy and environmental regulation is highly favorable to the privatization. Same time, government of India, I said very clearly, the government of India or Karnataka, actually, they want to conserve the Western Ghats. At the same time, they want to produce the more forest, they want to produce the more mining. Okay, how to balance? So we need the proper economic regulation or environment regulation. So, for example, you see there, forest policy, they are actually submitted 2020. At the same time, they want to produce more mining. They want to producing more forest product. I mean, in terms of forest cutting. Where is the things? We have to equal balance. That's the reason the first question, whatever revenue we are receiving from the nature, we should reinvest the nature in terms of afforestation program. But in the deforestation, I mean, forest degradation, afforestation is like this. That is imbalance. We should balance. There is imbalance. So the thing, decarbonization means there is another thing is there. Carbon context, incentive is there, economic instrument is there. They are same time giving incentive. They want to conserve the natural resources. How it will happen? It is called for the economic growth and environmental degradation. So there is a trade-off is there. If you want economic growth, definitely you have to pollute.
But how sir, developed countries can balance both? Why not we?
Madam, that is the thing, madam. Our argument, we need the proper, better environmental regulations. Where is
That's
regulation
what,
for solid waste? Where is regulation for solid waste, madam? Who will follow the solid waste regulations thing?
Yes.
That is my argument. We have to put some tax. We have to put some regulations.
Yes, sir.
They are generating more than 1 kg. You should give some money.
Yes, sir.
That is the thing.
Yeah.
Because why they are much wondering? Because our democracy is, we are people given democracy. If you put more tax, if you put more burden to the society, who will vote for the present government or another government? So there is some things. That's why reason in environmental context means environment is a big capital, madam. Actually, revenue and capital, as they are making more revenue compared than conservations. If you ask me, means we are in the very worst situation compared than me, because of when I visited Stanford University, I saw a very excellent framework. Within the university, how they are managing. They are not asking any PPMD, any municipality from the outside. They are managing their own. That is the strategy. So people behavior is also very important. How we are.
Thank you, Shailaja madam. Dr.
I have a question, sir. Sir, I have a question, sir.
Just 1 minute, ma'am. So in a chat box, Dr. Bala, a geographist and so he's asking a question. Do we have something like a mechanism to quantify the value of carbon sinks, especially the ocean bottoms?
Yes, there actually. You see there, I forgot the name. One article is there, they published. Now, how much carbon located in the oceans?
Okay.
Their method is there. Quantification method is there. Method is there. I think he or she can Google it. Global environmental change. The journal name Global Environmental Change. The CO2 emission located in the ocean.
Yeah. I will ask my friend Jagdish to talk to you later.
Yeah. Sure.
Yeah.
Methodology is there. Methodology is there.
Yes.
The estimated trillion amount of money located in the carbon in ocean. They are the major sources like a forest.
Yeah. And my humble request to you, Dr. Bala, sometime when you put your policy implications, you highly recommend some amount of CSR fund must go to, and even you can put logically the amount of carbon emissions or something like, and put it to a policy framework. A certain percent of money should go to a CSR to this environment protection to see that sustainability will be seen. And
actually,
thank you.
Our the Sustainable Development Goal report they released in our government of Karnataka. I was one of the discussant recently. They conducted a panel. I given actually very critical comments on the Sustainable Development Goals because the pandemic time we are not able to reach any single goal because we need the money and monitoring. how we are going to achieve the sustainable development goal. That is very difficult.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mubin madam want to ask some question?
Yes, sir. Sir,
Thank you.
sir, I have a question, sir. First
Yes,
of all, congratulations, sir. You
Thank you.
have given a very, very vivid elaboration of your
Thank
lecture, and you've done justice to World
Thank
Environment Day.
Thank
So
you,
my
thank you.
question is, in a nutshell, what forum of environment accounting, or in which forum environment accounting is reported, sir?
Madam, actually, environmental accounting he reported means there is number of studies going on. Research institution, college level, institutional organization, or non-governmental organization. But if you once, how people environmental accounting studies going on, because government itself they don't want to do much environmental accounting. If they want to do environmental accounting, first they have to report the cost of climate change,
Yes, yes.
cost of flooding, cost of drought. You see there now I'm doing research. I'm doing project funded by government of Karnataka, Ministry of Forest only, Forest Department, Malaysia, ma'am. Estimated economic value of recent flood in Kudavu, 2020-2018. So we are going to submit the report. You see that very interesting result is coming. So the income of the copper producer, the income of the tribal communities, the income and employment, wage, many things is lost. So that things they are not reported properly. Even
Yes, sir.
the loss
Yes,
and
sir.
damages they are not compensating properly. So where
Okay.
the reporting means the local government they have to report at the local level. You see there for each and every district they have to report their panchayat, then district level. Then they should give the state level.
Very true, sir. Very true.
We need proper monitoring and method for assessing positive and negative externality. That is a very big job, madam. That is
Yes, sir.
that is
Thank
things.
you. Thank
So
you, sir.
they are reporting severalwhere, but it's not coming out.
It's not coming out. Right.
Yeah, it's not coming
Thank
out.
you, sir. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah. Now we are reaching to another stage of this webinar. So I request where Dr. Bala. So our principal is a very renowned geographist
Yeah,
who
very
is moving and he is presenting his research papers across the globe.
Very
Almost he has traveled 11 countries, and
I heard about
he is a very and he did lot of work on Bangalore pollution and evaluation of this also. And I request our vibrant principal, Dr. D. Rajashekaran sir, to give his presidential remarks. Hand it over to Dr. Rajashekaran sir.
Yeah, it is audible.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. Very good afternoon, one and all present for this Google Meet. Really, I appreciate this wonderful webinar organized by Dr. Nagesh, IQSC coordinator, and Economics Department, Sundrali Madam, and Mubin Taj, as well as today's resource person, Mr. Dr. Balasubramaniam, will present a very wonderful talk about on green accounting. It is really wonderful to hear about the things, new things and all. And many of the students are attending this webinar, I think so. They followed it or not, I don't know. But it is a quite interesting topic. I really appreciating this opportunity to wish the organizers as well as the Balasubramaniam wonderful talk about this webinar. See, I generally mean to say that environment is we are part of the environment, not environment is our part. We are part and parcel of this environment. See, on this occasion as an Environmental Day, actually, I want to tell some of the few things to my students. That is to protect our environment. How to protect it for future generation? It's a simple thing. We should protect our water. Water is very precious. It is in future days. It will be very scarcity of water will be there. We should protect for future generation. Another part. Generally, I'm speaking. Don't mean that I'm not come to the main point and all. Just as presiding this function, I'm talking about this. See, another thing, we have to protect our soil. See, we say that we are resembling the Bhumi Thai. We resemble Bhumi to, Earth to our mother, because Earth will give food to us in the form of soil, seeds, that we have to protect the soil. So I'll tell you that 1 centimeter of soil to form in this on the surface of the earth, it takes 500 years. Nobody knows about it. I'll tell you the fact. This is the fact. See, 1 centimeter of soil should be formed on the surface of the earth, means it will take 500 years. So how precious this soil? We have to protect the soil. So measures are there, and all the students, especially our faculty as well as our students, has to be know about this. How precious the soil. We have to protect it. So how same way the nature, the forest is the main source for the even rain, climatic change, everything. As a geographer, I know that. So we should protect our forests also. Very important. And other fact around the minerals, so many things are there. See, I told you that already. See, we are part of the environment, not apart from that. See, each and everything, as economics, you can say that our basic needs, see, food, clothing, shelter, how will get it? By nature only. Without nature, it's not possible to get it. So, on this very auspicious occasion of this Environmental Day, I wish you all, those who have participated in this webinar, and made this webinar as a grand success. So, once again, I thank you, Balasubramaniam,
Thank you.
and our all coordinators who organize this program in such a wonderful manner. I thank you one and all, and also all the participants of my colleagues as well as my students. I appreciate and keep on continuing this kind of webinars to know about the knowledge related to our environment as well as other facts also. So it's a wonderful occasion. This is the first webinar I'm attending such a manner. I really appreciate all the organizers to make this webinar as a grand success. Thank you, one and all.
Thank you, sir. So just there is a one note before vote of thank formally by Dr. Mubin Taj. In the chat box, I put a Google form, feedback form. So just put your feedbacks in the by filling this form, and you will be getting a participation certificate after filling this. After a day or two, I request I hand over mic to Dr. Mubin, Professor Mubin ma'am, to give a vote of thanks.
Thank you, Nagesh sir. Am I audible?
Yeah, please, ma'am. You are audible.
Namaste. Good wishes from Mubin Taj, Eco Club convener, to each and every one of you. On the occasion of World Environment Day, with a sense of responsibility to all the citizens of our nation, Government Arts College Internal Quality Association, Internal Quality Assurance Cell in association with Department of Economics and College Eco Club organized a webinar on green accounting with Empirics of Karnataka as an initiative towards sustainability. In this context, I would like to state Wangari Maathai's quote. She said, "Environment and economy are really both sides of the same coin. If we cannot sustain the environment, we cannot sustain ourselves." With this insight and a small note, I take this privilege and honor to propose the oath of thanks to our eminent resource person, who was the main keynote address of today's webinar, Dr. M. Balasubramaniam, Assistant Professor for Ecological Economics and Natural Resources, Institute for Social and Economic Change, Bangalore. Sir, you have provided such an elaborate enlightenment to all of us with your rich experience and your rich equities. Really, it is invaluable, because whatever the insights that we have taken from you has really provided the future generation as well as to us also, so that how we can sustain our environment, and then what is actually green accounting, the types of green accounting. Really, being an Eco Club convener, I was not doing all these things, but because of your expertise, I could able to get something which I can put forward in our college initiatives also. Sir, am I audible, sir?
Yeah, audible, madam. Thank you.
Yes. So, sir, on behalf of the college, Government Arts College, Internal Quality Assurance Cell, Department of Economics, and Eco Club, I would like to express my heartfelt gratitude to you, sir. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, madam. Thank you.
Our college principal and president of today's webinar, Dr. D. Rajshekharan, who has recently assumed the charge as our principal. He has been so encouraging and support you in all our activities. So this is the first webinar which we have organized today. Sir, your encouragement and moral support is really remarkable and appreciable, sir. On behalf of the college, Department of Economics, and Eco Club, I express my sincere thanks to you, sir, principal, sir. Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir. Young, energetic, always ready to venture into new actions. Yes, I'm talking about our IQAC coordinator, Dr. Nagesh G. It is because of his efforts we could organize a very fruitful webinar today. Without his support, this webinar would not have taken place. On behalf of Government Art College, Department of Economics, and Eco Club, I am very thankful and grateful to you, Nagesh, sir. I'm very thankful to you.
Thank you,
sir.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
I would like to express my special thanks to the head of the Department of Economics, Professor Sundarwali. She welcomed the gathering, all the participants, and it was she who took this initiative. Madam, I sincerely thank you for this initiative. Without your support also, this would not have taken place. Thank you, Sundarwali, madam. Now, I would like to thank our IT coordinator, Jagdish sir, who has been always ready to do any work which is assigned to him. And I would like to also thank all the IQAC fraternity as such who directly and indirectly involved in the success or in the execution of this seminar or webinar as such. Sir, I would like to thank all my faculty members. So we are very fortunate that we are being backed by a wonderful group of fellow colleagues and administrative staff. On behalf of the college, Department of Economics, and Eco Club, I express my sincere thanks to each one of our faculty members, coordinators, conveners, PG coordinators, HODs, all those who have participated in this webinar, and they have made it a good, grand success. Thank you, dear colleagues. Last but equally important are our loving students who participated in the webinar and contributed for its success. On behalf of the college, Department of Economics, Eco Club, I give them a big thank you. Dear students, a very, very big thank you for making this webinar a big success. I conclude my vote of thanks with a message to all our participants towards promoting green initiative measures. Think green and go green to keep the world clean. So I repeat once again, think green and go green to keep the world clean. So I thank one and all for giving me this opportunity. My special thanks to our principal, coordinator, IQAC coordinator, and once again to Sundarwali for making this webinar a big success. So I thank you once again. God bless all of